And I'm going to take my second pushing. Now, you're probably wondering...
Hello! It says I am live. I'm live! I'm going to put in the description text here. No, I have it in the description text, don't I? Let me just double check. I'm going to have YouTube videos playing in the background. I'm going to turn the volume down so you don't hear a lot of it, but yep, that's working. Good. And I want... Make sure that link works.
Okay, so we're getting close. We've got it close to the shape that we want. Just have to take a little bit more off of this one. And then we'll
so let's give you guys a link in the chat to this work. There we go. Copy link address. Alrighty. In the chat, this is the work so far on the box. Box is one of a 5 or maybe even 6 short stories I'm putting into Mind Engine, which is my next comic. Due in May. So I'm down to like the last 40 something days. I have to work on this before I got to start putting it together, which actually I'm pretty good for. It's going to be tight, but this finishes off the art for the box, this page. This is the last one for this entry. And then I have a couple of other ones. I got some lettering to do and some shading. And I have some stuff for my memoir to draw. And a story for a Montreal anthology that's also going to go in as the forward for this book. And I think a one-pager I'm going to do. Which is a bit, but 30 days is not a bad amount of time to get what I need to get done. It also looks like I may have more time than I imagined to do it. I mentioned in last night's live stream, my school I teach at is being closed. Social distancing in Quebec. All the schools have been closed for 2 weeks. Make it extended. And let me turn that volume down more. Where is it?
Using this drill press vise, and I'm protecting the pin body with a piece of wood and, of course, 2 pieces of rubber.
That works.
I'm going to slowly crank my vise closed, and that's going to press the components.
That's better. And I can use. I've got a Chromecast over my desk. Chromecast monitor wired to the stereo. So I'm just getting the sound right for my entertainment. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to have more time than planned because the last class for this semester was shut down in the vernissage, although I don't tend to go to the vernissages very often. We'll see if we get closed for more than 2 weeks. That, if we do, that will cut into the next semester. I was also planning on doing a couple of small conventions, the King Kong in Kingston, Ontario. I was going to table at, and it looks like it has been postponed. It's in a public library in Kingston, so the library is closed, and then also there's the recommendation not to have large cultural gatherings. So that's not happening. I'm wondering if it's going to carry into May at all. But if I have a lot more time on my hands in April, as long as I'm not too sick or something, that could actually work in my favor. Not to be totally self-centered, but that's the upside of this scenario. Been following a lot of the news about what's been going on. Was out doing some provisioning today. We're not hoarding or anything, but we did to stock up, or due to stock up anyway, on a few things. And noticed some empty shelves yesterday for the first time. And when I went to the pharmacy today, there was definitely a void in the paper towel section, or toilet paper section, that wasn't there a couple days ago when I went. So that's silly. Hoarding's dumb, guys. Wish people wouldn't be doing that. But what you gonna do? People go stupid. So right now I'm using a pigment brush from Pentel. They come with pigment ink in them originally. Gray cartridges on the Pentel brushes. There's a fine liner. And then I've been refilling them with platinum carbon black. Which is a really nice, super dark ink that is not quite as permanent as pigment ink, but it's pretty close. There's slightly different properties from pigment ink, but not dramatically. They work quite well together, so you really can't tell the work I do with pigment pens apart from the work I do with the carbon black. Even the permanent ink that comes with the pocket brushes, Pentel pocket brushes, is more distinguishable, more distinct. So let's draw this tree. Would not recommend this as a habit, but I'm prone to liking to draw all the leaves. It's the same tree. But this isn't a hero shot of the tree or something, so I'm going to fudge quite a bit of them. I have a couple assignments I have in my dynamic drawing class, and I recommend for my intro to cartooning as well. That you do pattern exercises, sort of controlled pattern work. You start with hatching and feathering, some basic stuff, but you want to level up as you're going to more advanced patterns. And pretty early on, you should start practicing doing different sort of forms of leaves. Very controlled, accurate ones at first, because that's the harder thing to do. Get a hang of the shape of a leaf, then see if you can turn it into a simplified, repeatable form and turn it into a pattern. I like using the texture cube strategy for this because it helps you think about 3D forms, but in a relatively simple cube shape, as opposed to the more complex, less well-defined organic shape of a tree. So you know which way a each plane is facing, and you can deal with the lighting strategies in those situations a little more clear-cutly. Think about them. And then once you've done that a few times and you feel like you've kind of nailed how that works, you'll find that you can improvise and shift from more precise and exacting leaves like I did over here in this corner to more gestural ones like I'm doing right now pretty easily. And having the mix is good. So like the crowns of these bundles, I'm going to go with more precise patterns. And the shadows and undersides, I'm being more gestural and then blocking in with a lot of blacks. And that gradient of detail also helps kind of draw focus and signal depth. I did a video like 4-5 years ago on brush techniques, inking with a brush, this brush and a couple others. And it actually is this very brush too. These last a long time if you use them well, if you treat them nice. And there have been a number of comments where people were like, hey, that's a brush pen. It's not like a dip brush. This isn't a real brush video. I disagree. I've inked with dip brushes. Don't much like it. They're a pain in the ass. A lot of time wasted on managing your ink load and having to refill constantly and manage the ink load and a lot of fuss. I can just ink for an hour solid without stopping to think about it, switching between this and my pens, and never once having to worry about knocking over a bottle or a reservoir, having to dip my brush, having to worry about whether there's too much or too little. There's a bit of ink flow management involved in dealing with these brushes. This particular kind, in case you're not familiar, you squeeze this to get more ink to come out. Very gently, just a little squeeze. You can actually tell, I'm not going to do it now, but this feed a little translucent. You can see the ink starting to come into there. As soon as I see a little bit of black enter, I stop squeezing. Definitely any more than that, and you're going to get a big blob. And then if you get the timing right, you can just get it just a little wet. I don't really do that when it's gotten really dry. Usually you can just give it one little gentle squish and wait a few minutes and it'll get back to just a nice level of flow. It's gravity fed, so just even holding it upright for a long time does sometimes result in enough ink flow, but not always. But that's a lot easier. If I do end up having too much ink on the brush, I just use a little piece of paper like this and get rid of the excess. That's what was going on there yesterday. This brush or one of the other brushes was running a little too wet. So I was using that little sticky note to get rid of the excess. I'm going to stop talking for a minute because I got to focus on some finer details on the crown here. Feel free to say hi in the chats and stuff, folks. I think I've seen this video that I'm listening to before. Go over here. needlessly fussy, really. I can do pretty fine detail work with the brush, but now that I think about it, what I'm doing really, whoops, more of a job for a pen. These Winsor Newtons, too, also have a nice compatible, slightly brush-like line. So using dark in here to create another ridge in the crown. And in the mass, especially at this size, I don't actually have to articulate each little leaf. In fact, I get a better, more chaotic, organic look by adding a certain amount of noise to the pattern. I'm thinking about the three-dimensional shape and what that means for light and shadow casting. I think, if I remember correctly, we can. Oh, that is a zoom in. That is zoomed in. All right. Kind of feels like. Oh, it's in focus. All right. It is done. Is that? Oh, got a split hair on the brush tip. The trick is to roll and pull. Also looks like it's getting a little dry, so one little squeeze. Just wait for it. Oh, there it is. It's getting wet again. Very easy to manage. And the rolling, twisting action helps sort of wind the bristles into a point again. Mm-hmm. Just taking a second to check something, drink my coffee, compare notes here. I mentioned yesterday a lot. I spent a lot of time in comics looking at continuity. So I need to match. Well, I want to match. Need being subjective, but I want to match what I've done in the spread. Where's that window? What to do with it? Oh, I pushed it all the way down there. Oh, that's going to be a problem. There we go. Crowd it. So there we go. Just wanted to show that was the valley location and the hill. So I sort of established the landscape. And I'm just taking a minute to assess what I'm doing here, because all of this and that needs to maintain continuity.
Window outside. See the view. That's basically our garage. So like storage area, but predominantly tools, spare parts. The truck needs a lot of love for keeping it on the road. A shower, toilet, which we never use. So basically, it's a normal storage area. So right now, your bathroom and your shower is a closet, like most people's buses. Do you have solar power on the bus? Yeah. Power on the bus. I'm sorry. And the power on the truck? Yeah, 500 watt. And fresh water? 300. I'm on these here actually. 300 gallons? No, liters. So that's about.
Yeah, that was great.
7. Board computer and 15 computer running out of space, and we've had to think about the solution for this. That's massive. It's about 2 by 1, 60 meters. It's in the camera where you don't have pictures of you. Okay. We didn't actually start. Well, that's a stretch map with pretty much the whole route we were driving. Started here in Europe and Austria, driving all the way down to Central Asia, Siberia, down to Korea, Japan, down to Borneo, and driving all across islands like Indonesia, and we moved around Australia. Now we're right here in Los Angeles. Like on the rear actually. Yeah. You want to see that actually? Yeah, I will. Yeah. Do you go on social media, or do you post pictures? Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook. Where can people find you? It's Akela.world. That's Instagram and Facebook. I saw it on the side of the bus too, right? Yeah, that's our website actually. Thank you so much for letting me come inside and take the videos and pictures. So, anything else you want to say to anybody?
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
We're on our way to Schoolie Palooza. We'll be there in about 10 minutes. It's in Ehrenberg, Arizona, outside of Quartzsite. And we're excited to see all our friends.
I quite like the fact that it was annoying at first, but the studio version of the feed that I see is mirrored. I don't know why they do that. I guess maybe so people can see themselves, but I don't want to see myself. As it turns out, though, I look at my art backwards in a mirror all the time. I got a big mirror mounted next to my desk. Just there we go, sideways scrolling. That's all mirror. You can see the top of it. That's the right side of the screen. Left side of the screen. Left side of the screen. Anyway, you get the idea. It's large. And that's just so that I can check how my work is reading. You can also flip it upside down. I mean, the main idea is sort of change the way you're seeing things, and things that you've been tuned out, missing for various reasons, will suddenly pop out at you. All I have to do now is look up at this fairly high def preview screen. That's kind of handy. Or 3. To start with the 3. There's a line like that.
Dean's here.
What are these guys doing here? How'd you find me? Well, you guys are here? Gosh, it's just hugs everywhere. Who else? What you guys doing? Good. Hey, Jen. Gotta finish the hugs all the way around. Can't go up there.
Look who just showed up. We're here.
Wow.
Hey guys.
Make sure you guys grab one piece of pizza and some chili, and make sure you let everybody jump in line, and then we're going to do a second round. Thank you guys so much.
I got the pizza. I got the pizza.
We're Dean and Richard. We're here at School Palooza. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to the jungle.
Schoolie Palooza is ending. A lot of people are packing up and leaving. We will miss them, but we'll see them soon.
We stop crying.
After we all stop crying, yes. And I think Elizabeth's back there trying to get a cheeseburger somehow. 3 cheeseburgers.
church. I love making job with your customers. No, thank you. And we just love you guys. You're just really great.
So why haven't I heard of this squad? Experimental unit clone force? 99. The defective clones with desirable mutations. 99, eh? Right. Nice touch. They call themselves the Bad Batch. The cavalry has arrived!
If you were able to look through the perspective of a person who thinks the world is flat, you would see this. The North Pole is right here in the center. The continent's splayed out over this plain. And here on the edges, you'd run into a 150-foot wall of ice, guarded by NASA employees with guns. And how far that ice goes outward.
Fucking ridiculous stuff.
The heavens are a dome that arcs over the flat Earth. The sun, the moon, the stars, they're all just little balls of light in the sky that move around just above the Earth's surface. There are loads of people who actually believe this. YouTube channels and Facebook pages, you'll see hundreds of thousands of followers. Google searches for the term flat Earth proof over time look like this. It's become incredibly popular. And recently a poll showed that only 84% of Americans agree with the statement, I have always believed the world is round. 84%. And if you're 18 to 24, that's more like 66%, which is like dangerously close to half. What is going on here?
Now the North Pole, the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole is the center of a high plateau, which averages about 8,000 feet in altitude.
This is frustrating, and what's even more frustrating is every time I try to look into this and understand it, all I see is coverage of like flat earther conventions and like interviews with these people.
We absolutely know for a fact this ain't it.
These interviews are interesting, but I want to understand like how someone with a thinking brain can actually get behind this. What is this actual millions of people believe that the Earth is flat.
The water is completely flat. As far as we can see and as far as we've measured, and the horizon is completely flat.
I'm in Mexico now. I've been sitting on the beach reading everything there is to read about the history of people who believe the Earth is flat. And there's one thing that I just had to try for myself.
This is a simple experiment that anybody can conduct to determine definitely that the Earth is flat. Grab a spirit level, take it on the plane.
Found this hardware store, bought myself a level. Gracias, amigo. And I'm bringing it with me on the airplane. I'm going to do some of this empirical science.
If you are to fly on a non-rotating Earth, please explain what kind of experience will the pilot really have.
The logic goes that if the Earth is round and I'm flying thousands of miles, which I'm about to do, then the airplane will have to be tipped a little bit the whole time in order to make it around the curvature of the Earth.
The plane should be constantly dipping its nose forward in order to compensate for curvature. Show me some plane.
I would be able to see the tilt of the airplane if I put my newly purchased level on the tray table in front of me.
I'm going to take my spirit level onto the plane.
If my tool shows me that the plane is totally level,
That's proof that the Earth is flat.
let's just see what happens. Can somebody explain to me duty free? Why perfume? Why is there so much perfume in duty free? I was on an airplane, and I'm back. My little level experiment worked wonderfully. The bubble stayed nice and centered. Turns out the plane was not dipping its nose in order to get around the Earth. This is explained by the basics of gravity and physics. This video is not a debunk of flat Earth theory. That doesn't need to happen. That shouldn't need to happen. What this is my fascination with the fact that there is lots of people, let's put it this way, a non-zero number of humans who think the world is flat. And they work really hard to prove it. I want to understand what sorts of tools are being used to prove the world is flat. So here we go. I wonder if I can get some really dramatic, like, conspiracy theory. What if the Earth actually is flat? The plane wasn't dipping. The level was flat. Okay, I'm kidding. Let's get into this. I've been in the weeds learning about the flat Earth experience, what people believe and why, and where it all came from. And here's what I've learned. Number one, flat earthers have become a thing just in the past couple hundred years. So by like 205 you've got these really
Well, I'm not taking requests, but yes, I can draw frogs.
that are like observing a globe-shaped Earth.
I have indeed drawn frogs in the past. It's been a while.
Who was doing experimentation on the world, and eventually nobody believed the Earth was flat. Even in like the medieval times, like it's a consensus that the Earth was a globe. So in short, flat earthers weren't a thing during this time. Even though literally in elementary school I was taught that Christopher Columbus and like his voyage was somehow to prove that the Earth was round or maybe it was flat, and that there was like some debate around that. That's actually a total legend, and I have no idea why I was taught that in elementary school. I actually genuinely curious, like, how did that happen? The fact is, Christopher Columbus, the Catholic Church, the Spanish patrons, no one thought the Earth was flat. But then they became a thing. Any sort of flat earther movement didn't actually come around, ironically, until science was really starting to heat up. During the mid-1800s, a huge amount of scientific breakthroughs was happening. Scientific method was taking off, and huge breakthroughs in biology, physics, anatomy, and mathematics were taking place. But at the time, there were also people who were becoming uncomfortable with how advanced scientific methods were getting. These guys were like, hold on a second, you have all these fancy new tools to inquire into the world and to understand reality, but these tools are getting like too sophisticated and too abstract and theoretical. They're becoming too disconnected from like what I can see and understand and touch and feel. They wanted to bring science back to what it had been for a really long time, which is that like a person goes out, uses simple tools like a telescope to look at the world and to make conclusions about how the world works. So it's the 1800s, science is like having its time, and you have these guys, usually from like the US or UK, who want to throw out this growing body of like amazing advancements in science, and they start to use experiments. Here's what those experiments look like. So it's the summer of 1838, England, up in the county of Cambridgeshire, which literally sounds like a place in the world. So it's the summer of 1838, and the atom had just been discovered, and the Doppler effect is like being fleshed out. And then you've got this guy. His name is Samuel Rowbotham, but he goes by the pseudonym Parallax, which is actually a pretty cool name. Like if I were a DJ, I would totally go with like. Anyway, Parallax decides, even though all this science is happening, he thinks it's time to reopen up the debate about whether or not the Earth is flat, which was like literally settled thousands of years earlier. But he's like, no. And he finds this canal system that is incredibly straight. This canal goes on for almost 10 kilometers, like 6 miles of just a straight line. This guy says, if the Earth is a globe, and people say it's 25,000 miles in circumference, then if I look at a straight line, after the first mile, the curvature of the Earth would mean that the canal would now be 8 inches lower. After 2 miles, it would be 32 inches lower. After 3 miles, 72 inches lower, meaning like 6 feet, almost 2 meters, and so on. So he thinks eventually the dip from the curvature of the Earth would be so great that you could easily observe it. So he gets in the water, he puts a telescope right above the surface of the water, and then puts a boat on the canal with a 1 meter tall post on it. So what he wants to see is if the Earth is curved, if it's a globe, this post will start to disappear over the horizon. So he does it. The boat goes away, it goes the entire 6 miles of the canal, and it stays in sight the entire time. It doesn't dip over the horizon. And he's stoked. He's like, man, I just proved that the Earth is flat. And I did it with a telescope and a boat. Like, screw you, science. Like, I'm making breakthroughs right here in Cambridgeshire. And then he writes this book, where he fleshes out this experiment and several others that he does. Oh, wait, this experiment. That's your numbers were all correct. Like, why didn't he do it? Like, why was the boat still inside? There's nothing wrong with this experiment. Parallax, not that great name. Maybe he was onto something. No, this is stupid. This is like a 3rd grade science experiment in the backyard. This experiment doesn't take into account how the natural world actually works and how light behaves and refracts based on the different air densities. This is like stuff that people already figured out, and like Parallax is sitting there getting wet in a canal, like trying to observe this on it. No, this does not prove anything. But Parallax didn't want to hear any of this. He didn't want to talk about atmospheric refraction and air density and how light behaves in different media. Too complicated, too abstract. You can't touch and feel that stuff. Instead, Parallax sees science and observing reality as a much simpler task. In his book, he says, nature speaks to us in a peculiar language, in the language of phenomena. She answers at all times the questions with nothing. Just like go out and like put a question to Mother Nature and she'll answer. As scientific methods become more sophisticated, they become harder for you and me to understand. Parallax and his canal experiments are a reaction to all of this. They are a call for a simplification of scientific methods and a return of the senses as the primary force for understanding reality. He called his method of reductionist pseudoscience the zetetic method. He says that honesty of thought is to look at truth in the face, not the side face, but the full front. Like just like look at it, go out and observe it for yourself. He was among several scientists and mathematicians at the time who were on this train. Let's use really simplified reductionist math and science to prove that the Earth is actually flat. This argument of the flat Earth flickered for a little bit in the 1800s, gained a little bit of traction, but then eventually it died out until just a few years ago.
I refuse to be another vegetable. Pseudoscience garbage will to me be unacceptable. Anyone with eyes to see don't have to be susceptible. Dispose of your globe in the nearest waste receptacle.
There is no curvature to this earth. There is no motion to this earth. You just accept the globe model. No understanding of the flat and no clear evidence for the ball earth. Do you see the problem there?
Flat earthers are back, and their methods are very similar to what parallax is doing in Egypt.
So this is data. This is repeatable, observable, measurable.
If you take the time to learn, you will change your mind. There's no doubt. The only reason people think they live on a spinning ball is willful ignorance.
They're still zooming into horizons, but now they have hordes of visual stuff to play around with. They now have airplanes. They now have satellite imagery to play around with. They now have
Not while I'm in King Edge. Seriously.
Your plate can't go upside down. Here's the thing, little bugger.
like the flat earthers in the 1800s, the flat earthers today want to use their own intuition and senses to understand reality. And in the process, they reject and ignore the huge body of science that we all live with today.
So people that have physics degrees, astronomy degrees, they got their degree by regurgitating what their teacher in the books told them.
Instead of trigonometry and telescopes and canals, the flat earthers today use videos and photos circulated on the internet.
The azimuthal equidistant projection map that the USGS actually uses is the flat Earth map.
Is that the flat Earth? Don't put me in projections. I take them very seriously. In true internet fashion, this new current movement of flat earthers has become just a bunch of bumper sticker type assertions and images that are really easy to share. Just like parallaxis experiments, these methodologies completely ignore the way the natural world is observed to work by like thousands of years of scientific consensus. But if you go to the FAQ page of the Flat Earth Society, you'll see what they're after. They believe that evidence is, quote, relying on your own senses to discern the true nature of the world around us. That's the best evidence. And in that vein, that's what these people are doing.
I mean, so in the physics world today, do they not understand that convex lenses or fisheye lenses or GoPro have a distorted view?
So, what have I learned from all of this? From my understanding, the Flat Earther movement, whether from the 1800s or today on the internet, is actually not totally about the shape of the Earth. This movement has a much broader message built into it. There's a reason why 1984 is like in the canon of the Flat Earther movement. 1984 has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. What it does have to do with is being skeptical of big institutions that are probably watching you, that are probably controlling your life, that are probably feeding you bad information to retain power.
We're not crazy, we're just sick of the lies.
Here's the thing. Most of the knowledge we have about the natural world and the universe, we've never seen. We've never seen exoplanets or the Deep Space Telescope that tells us so much about our universe. Instead, we read about this stuff. We benefit from its findings. We pay our taxes to fund more of it. Science is like a tall tower, and each individual researcher institution has a little brick to that tower, each brick resting on the one below it. No one person sees or understands all of the bricks. Instead, we have a system of debate, review, scrutiny that only allows the most accurate information to be added to the tower. And honestly, I don't think humans are well suited to adapt to this very impersonal way of understanding the world. We have evolved over millions of years with our senses as our main drivers. And now we live in a society that is run by big systems and impersonal institutions that we will never touch and feel, much less understand. And that's why we have people who believe the world is flat, despite conclusive evidence. This belief is a much larger paradigm that mistrusts anything that you can't touch and feel. And So yeah, I'm really sad that only 84% of people can say with certainty that they've always believed the world will glow. And that's 64% for younger people. Only 64% of people. Like that just blows my mind, and it's incredibly sad. But despite this belief, this movement, these conventions, this total lunacy, science will continue to do its thing. It will continue to go out, observe the world with these amazing tools that we have, come back, debate it, and add to this tower of knowledge that helps us see the world as it really is. I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is this amazing giant repository of online tutorials where you can learn everything you can imagine, from photography to design to illustration to character animation to filmmaking to entrepreneurship, all the things. And you get unlimited access to the entire library if you subscribe. You get 2 months free Skillshare if you pick the link in the description. You should check out this course on the fundamentals of photo editing. Photo editing is truly a craft, and with a little bit of training, you can dramatically change how your photos look and feel, both from just simple mobile photography all the way to advanced professional photography. Having these fundamentals in your toolkit will help you make better pictures. So click the link in the description to sign up for 2 months for free. Like, you literally don't pay any money. You just test it out. After that, I think it's like less than $10 a month. Which $10 to have access to this giant repository of tutorials is like a no-brainer. So I love Skillshare. I love internet learning. Go check it out. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back soon with some more stuff. See you.
Greetings, my beautiful lovely kids, and we welcome back today. I'm going to be making a smooth peanut butter and jelly. Essentially, I'm going to be making a jelly version of a peanut butter and jelly. It's layered jelly, and then I'm going to put it on the bias and make it. I just learned about this couple days ago, and I'll share it here on So when thinking about this recipe, I was inspired by little jelly desserts from Southeast Asia. These desserts my mom made, often coconut, pandan, and then layered jellies are absolutely beautiful. And so I thought I would use that as the basis for this recipe. Rather than coconut and pandan, I would use peanut butter jelly. Let's see if this works. So to make this all gel together, I'm going to be using this and learn that my mom calls it but I also use olive powder. It's telephone brand, but it comes from Thailand. And if you look on the back here, this is just plain avocado with no sugar and no starch in this mixture. So there are differences between avocado. The ones that you buy in Japan tend to have less holding power. They don't gel as firmly, but they're much clearer, which I learned to do. I read that quickly and back up quickly down the road. Well, yeah, the specific portions for my recipe are going to be based on the recipe I made for to my sauce, I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Next, 1 teaspoon of now with any recipe, you want to add roughly 2 teaspoons of salt. Because if it's really important to use this cold water, because if this is hot water, it would immediately pop up. And add a pinch of salt. 6 tablespoons of sugar. One cup of milk. Whole. Okay, heat this up. And we're going to bring this to a boil. We're just going to check to make sure that the agave is dissolved. I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of whipped cream. Just make sure it's nice and thick. And for a mold, I'm using a glass container. You can use any kind of container you like. So I tested this out with the water to see how long it was, and this is perfect for me. I can also make these into individual custom So I've got a couple bubbles here. If you want this to be nice and smooth, just take the bubbles out. And I'll set this aside and we'll top it in. Okay, so this last one, we're gonna add 1 cup of water. 3/4 of a teaspoon of butter. 2 tablespoons of sugar. And 2 tablespoons of grape jelly. Bring it to a rapid boil, and then make sure that the trick to having the layers stick together is that you want your previous layers to set up enough that you can pour the next layer on top. You don't want it to be too cold. It needs to be a little bit more so that the layers can stick. That jelly has a lot of jelly in it. So that's not really all that bad. I'm going to add another tablespoon of 3 tablespoons. And I still want to grab another tablespoon. Generous tablespoon. I never but I do like that combination. Oh, here we go. Now we put protein in there. So this is going to oil. Now place this in the refrigerator for another 5 minutes or so, so that can get up. Oh no, this is cooking up the other layer. That is not good. This just melts more. Yeah. So I think what happened is that I poured my second layer and the bottom layer is because luckily I still have some more of the milk layer, so I'm just going to pour that in. It was sitting in for 7 minutes. I took it out. It's still warm, but it's firmer than it was when I did it last. Last time I did my whole
Man, better black. Prefer to black. Simplify. Okay.
so far. Now we need the last layer of this is more not nice than that. Now I'm gonna place this together and let it sit before I okay. Good. Alright, my lovelies, I'm back. So it has been about 2 hours and I've let this cool off. So I've done a good job. Pretty cool for that. Now it's time to see. Okay, so here we are. So as I add on,
I do not like nibs, but recently I picked up oops, where'd it go? A pen. Here we are. Nib pen. It's a fountain nib pen. So it's the platinum nib. I've been using platinum ink for a while, and it's not bad. It's not bad. I generally dislike nibs, though. I definitely don't like dealing with dip and flow management. That's why I also do not use traditional dip brushes anymore. These Winsor Newton pigment pens are quite nice, I'm finding. So these particular pages I've been doing with a thin brush and fine lighters. Pointillism is insane. That's crazy talk. You poor person. Francisco, why do you do this to yourself? What was I imagining that was? Yeah. Those are the fingers. Yeah, straps for the shield. Always make sure you understand what it is you are inking, even if you drew it yourself. Because if you do not, you may get lost. I don't really have an accent, by the way. It just happens. Dude. Yeah, like that. There we go. Shave it down a little. What about my videos? I just paused and forgot about it. I wonder how long I should make these live stream videos. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what that question means. Everything I'm doing right now is for a collection of comics called Mind Engine. They're different stories. Not sure how much you will have seen. I've been posting online. It's going to be 5, maybe 6 comic stories and some pinups. It's looking like maybe a 60-page book. Black and white interiors, color cover. Going to do a limited run locally with a local printer. Hopefully, if all stays on schedule, launching in May. And then I'll be putting it up on, probably still going to use Kindle Direct. I was on CreateSpace for years. And I liked it. I got all the bugs worked out eventually. When I first started using them, there was a few little issues, but they'd gotten to working quite well. It didn't really change much initially when Amazon bought them. But then when they folded CreateSpace into Kindle to create Kindle Direct, or merge it with Kindle Direct, I think Kindle Direct already existed. I'd hoped they would have kept more of the institutional knowledge. They did not. It was noticeable. I have some anxiety about uploading the next book. Mostly it's like, so one thing that was really annoying, I was just in the process of thinking about getting a different internet connection, and this kind of pushed the issue. So I ended up switching and resolving the problem later. For a long time, I was on DSL, not DHL. And yeah, like that. And Bell doesn't keep very good care of the phone lines in my neighborhood. It's actually gotten quite gentrified recently, but it was a slum at the time. And I and many of the other not terribly well-heeled inhabitants we're definitely a little late to see some of the benefits of urban what's the word? Infrastructure maintenance, revision, improvement. It's quite nice now, though. It's getting better. That's a mixed blessing. But the phone line sucked, and so I never got the bandwidth I was supposed to with my modem. There's a lot of noise in the line. So I switched to cable. But just before I did, I was trying to upload the last manuscript that I published through Kindle Direct. And I kept having this weird timeout where it would just sort of tell me that it was like an alert icon. It didn't tell me anything. That was the problem. No text, just an alert icon. And clearly, I think it was like the alert had the X in it or something like that. It was obvious that it was a failed upload. And it would never tell you why. And I tried all sorts of different things and did a lot of Googling and tried to figure out if there's something wrong with the file. And eventually I worked out that it was timing out, but it gave you no notification of that. And it was timing out because, near as I can tell, they don't have, or didn't have anyway. I hope they've improved this. They didn't have a big enough buffer on their side. So if there was a noise in the signal, that's what packet distribution is all about. And thing make internet work. If you don't use it, I don't know. I'm not a programmer, but as far as I understood it, the system is designed to not be a problem. You just need to be a little more patient, maybe, and save the files and reassemble them when you're in. Their system couldn't do that, so it just kept crashing every time it timed out on a packet not showing up. And I had to use my mobile data to get the files to upload because I didn't have cable was coming, but it had already been ordered, but it wasn't coming for a month. So I don't know if that's still a problem. It shouldn't be a problem for me anymore, but if you're someone with less than stellar internet bandwidth and reliability, you may want to know about that because it doesn't really tell you what's going on. And it took me a long time to figure it out. Should have been a lot more obvious. And then they've just gotten really, if there's transparencies in your file, it causes glitches. If you've got a bleed, it's mostly filled in, but there's a pixel that's blank in a corner. And clearly it's just like empty pixels. It's transparent. They'll reject it, even though that should never, if that part of the paper is showing up in a print bleed, they've screwed the pooch dramatically. So it's sort of a moot point. I had to fuss with that. Just is a hell of a fucking lot more picky. And I guess, the argument is that they're assuming less experienced users, but for the perspective of a fairly experienced graphic designer and book maker, they are excessive in this. Those little things like you'll get rejected for having text too close to the edge of the book. And I had a design for the logo of my old book Revolver that I wanted to do that involved the back of the R becoming a stripe going around the spine. And they rejected it because they considered that the text going around the cover. It's just no. Excuse me. Book printing's great, though. The quality quite good. And if you upload high enough res files, it's Very decent resolution and refinement. Does not look too cheap. I tried a few other services, and the combination of price and quality print, the only thing that beat them for quality print was local printers that I knew, but not by a lot. And unfortunately, they were not nearly as affordable. I still use them for my first editions, but they also don't do supply, sort of the drop shipping side of things. And I don't want to do it. So as a small publisher, using Amazon has its advantages. I take some solace in the fact that our books they're print on demand, so they're not sitting in a warehouse. Hopefully they're not too much part of the warehouse operations problem. Be nice if this is a comparable option and the quality was good and I could offer a decent price on the books. That's kind of the key point. In case anyone watching this doesn't already know, I have comic books. Check the description text on this video for links where to go buy them. Some of them. If you check my home website, I have a store there. I was just thinking I should check. I shut down part of it temporarily because I don't have time to do more commissions. I'm backlogged on commissions, so I'm not taking those just yet. I do them just at the moment. But let's see, original for your wall. Oh, have I shut that down too? I have. So temporarily, just because of shipping, enough time to do the shipping, and I got a lot of book to draw, and I have a backlog of commissions. So I sell my art, sometimes on my site, sometimes at events and shows. This stuff probably won't start selling it until most of the story is done. I say that tentatively because I think once I'm far enough in, as long as I have like a good res, I always make copies, so this is like a moot point, but a good copy, I might start selling it at shows. But I probably wouldn't put it up for sale online until I had done it all. But I got a lot of old stuff up for sale. So currently not live, but pages from several other books are available potentially. For context, a page like one of these, I would sell for it's personal work, and I think it's some of my better work. So, depending what day you catch me on, $200 or $300, probably around there. Do want to? I will decide what to do down there when I'm doing the last panel. Okay. Time to give this one a roll. I need to clear it up so I can see what's left to do. So rather than rubbing, I'm rolling my kneadable eraser over the inked art, which removes much less ink. If any of the ink is not, in fact, currently totally dry, it's much less likely to smear or badly damage things. And then I can just go in, like here I've got a slightly darker red. I can make a little blade of the eraser and rub along the direction of the stroke that I'm erasing, which will help get at it a little better. I have a light touch, but there's often a little bit of gunneling channels created. I had something there. The bag. That is right. The bag is there. Try. 2 panels left to go. I have to think about for a beat what I'm doing with the wind effects in this one. Time to stretch my legs and ponder. So I think it's almost a 2-hour video. It's a good place to end it. I'll go in and edit for the post, trim it down a little bit. But thanks for hanging out, folks. Job that was difficult to get rid of. What do you mean difficult for me to get rid of? That does not, I don't understand what you mean to that. Do you mean difficult to finish? A lot of jobs are a lot of work. I do a lot of big books, and I've been at it for 30 years. I've had easy jobs and I've had some hard jobs. Just do. You learn you do one step at a time, break into little pieces, get it done. That's how just big things get done, little steps. And with that note, I will be back later. See you, kids.